It began quietly, almost too quietly to notice, the way the most painful betrayals often do. At first, there were no red flags, no cracks showing in the bond that had taken years to build. We had laughed together, shared secrets no one else knew, and leaned on each other when the weight of the world grew too heavy. Friendship, to me, had always meant loyalty above all else, and I had believed, with a certainty that now feels foolish, that nothing could ever shatter what we had. But life, I would come to learn, has a cruel way of teaching lessons we never asked for. The first signs were subtle. Small lies slipped into conversations, excuses that never quite made sense, but I brushed them aside. After all, trust is a stubborn thing. It clings even when it's being strangled. When others whispered doubts about him, I defended him, convinced that people were only jealous of what we had. I told myself that no real friend would ever betray another, that what we shared was immune to the poison of deceit. I wanted so badly to believe that, and maybe that's why I didn't see the knife being sharpened behind my back. It wasn't until the rumors began to circle more persistently that I started to question. Someone told me he had repeated things I had confided in him, private truths I had trusted him with, words spoken in the safety of late-night conversations when the world seemed asleep. At first, I refused to believe it. He would never do that, I told myself. But denial is a fragile shield, and soon it crumbled under the weight of evidence. I heard my own words come back to me, twisted, exaggerated, reshaped into weapons I had never intended. I confronted him, though even then I clung to the hope that there was some mistake, some explanation that would make sense. He laughed at me. I can still remember the smirk that curled on his lips, the way he shrugged off the accusations as if my pain was nothing more than entertainment. That laugh broke something inside me. In that moment, I understood the truth. The friendship I had valued so dearly was nothing more than a game to him, another chance to be the classic cheat he had always been. The betrayal didn't stop with secrets. He grew bolder, using my trust as a weapon, manipulating situations to make me look weak, foolish, even pathetic. He spread lies to people I cared about, lies that painted me as the villain in stories I never wrote. I watched, powerless, as relationships around me began to fray, as people I once thought of as allies looked at me with suspicion in their eyes. He had stolen not just my trust, but the foundation of my connections with others. What hurt the most wasn't the loss of reputation or even the sting of humiliation. It was the realization that the person I had trusted most was the one who had chosen to destroy me. I replayed every memory in my mind, searching for signs, wondering how long he had been planning this, how many times he had smiled at me while sharpening the blade of betrayal. The laughter we shared, the secrets we whispered, the promises we made, it all felt tainted, poisoned by the knowledge of what he truly was. Friendship is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where you can lay down your burdens without fear. But he turned it into a battlefield. And when the dust settled, I found myself standing alone, staring at the ruins of what had once been unshakable. He had destroyed not just my trust in him, but my belief in the very idea of friendship itself. For a long time, I questioned everyone, suspecting betrayal even in kindness, hearing echoes of his lies in every word spoken to me. Time, as they say, dulls even the sharpest pain, but scars remain. And though I no longer feel the raw ache of betrayal, I carry the weight of the lesson he left me with. Not every smile is sincere, not every friend is true, and sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who can cause the deepest wounds. He was the classic cheat, and in the end, his greatest trick was convincing me that he was ever my friend at all. The pain of that betrayal lingered longer than I ever expected. At first, it was like a storm, loud, violent, all-consuming. I found myself replaying every conversation, every detail of our friendship, trying to pinpoint the moment when things shifted, when his loyalty dissolved into deceit. But no matter how many times I searched the past, I could never find the exact fracture. That was the cruelest part. It felt as if our entire friendship had been built on a lie, as though every moment of laughter, every promise of loyalty, had been nothing more than bait to lure me into his game. He thrived on control. I began to see that clearly once the blindfold of trust was torn away. He enjoyed watching me squirm under the weight of rumors he had planted, knowing I was too loyal for too long to suspect him. He played both sides masterfully, smiling to my face while poisoning my name in the shadows. And every time someone pulled away from me, every time I felt the cold sting of judgment in another's eyes, I knew it was his hand at work. It was almost an art form to him, the way he dismantled me piece by piece without ever appearing to lift a finger. But what I never understood was why. Why take joy in destroying someone who only ever wished him well? I asked myself that question endlessly. Was it jealousy? Was it boredom? Or was it simply the nature of a cheat to burn bridges just to feel the warmth of the flames? Perhaps I'll never know. Perhaps the answer doesn't matter, because the damage was already done. The hardest nights were the lonely ones, when silence pressed in too heavily and memories came uninvited. I would remember the good times, the times when I felt truly seen, truly understood. And then the bitterness would follow. The reminder that those moments were nothing more than tools in his game, carefully crafted to earn my trust so that my downfall would sting even more. It is a strange kind of grief, mourning a friendship that never really existed the way I thought it did. Yet even in my darkest moments, I found strength I didn't know I had. There comes a point when the tears dry up, when anger replaces sorrow, and when self-respect demands to be rebuilt. Slowly, I began to rise. I distanced myself from the voices he had manipulated, cut ties with those too blind to see the truth, and rebuilt my circle with people who valued honesty. The climb back was slow, painful, but necessary. Every step was a reminder that though he had cheated me, he had not destroyed me completely. In time, word of his ways spread further. Those who once believed his lies began to experience his games for themselves. I watched from afar as his charm wore thin, as his reputation crumbled under the weight of his own deceit. The classic cheat always thinks he can outsmart everyone, but eventually, every mask slips. When it did, I felt no joy, no satisfaction, just a hollow sense of inevitability. His downfall was never mine to orchestrate. It was the natural end for someone who built his life on betrayal. What remains with me is not hatred, but a scar, a reminder carved deep into my soul. I learned that friendship is fragile, that trust is precious, and that sometimes the people we hold closest are the ones who can shatter us most completely. He destroyed my friendship forever, not just with him, but with the naive belief that loyalty is always returned in kind. And yet, perhaps that scar is also a shield. I no longer give my trust freely. I no longer mistake charm for sincerity. I carry the lesson with me, not as a weight, but as armor. He was the classic cheat, and though he destroyed what I once cherished, he also forced me to see the truth. Betrayal may break you, but it also teaches you to rise stronger, sharper, and unbreakable. Every time I think I have finished telling the story, more memories surface, as if the wound is determined never to close completely. The truth is, betrayal like his doesn't end in one moment. It lingers, echoing through the smallest parts of your life, reshaping the way you see everything. Even after I walked away from him, his shadow followed me. A laugh from someone else that sounded like his, a phrase he used to say, even the sight of the places we used to go together, they all dragged me back into the storm he created. I used to wonder if he ever felt regret. Did he ever lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, remembering all the things I had done for him, all the times I defended him when no one else would? Did he feel even a flicker of shame when he repeated my secrets for his own amusement? Somehow, I doubt it. Cheats like him don't look back. They move forward to their next victim, always feeding off someone else's trust until there's nothing left to take. But I did look back, too often. I replayed the day I realized what he had done, the sting of hearing my own words twisted into gossip, the heat of humiliation on my face when I saw people whispering about things I had only ever told him. That memory haunted me more than I liked to admit. It made me question not just him, but myself. How could I have been so blind? How could I have loved a friend so deeply and not seen the knife in his hand? That self-doubt was perhaps the cruelest part of it all. He didn't just betray me, he made me betray myself. He made me feel foolish for trusting, weak for caring, naive for believing. And that's a wound no one else can see, but one that cuts deeper than any rumor he ever spread. Over time, though, the pain sharpened into clarity. I began to realize that my loyalty wasn't the problem, his deceit was. Trusting someone isn't a weakness, betraying that trust is. It took me far too long to understand that the shame wasn't mine to carry, it was his. The classic cheat can wear a mask for a while, but eventually the truth seeps through the cracks. Years later, when I hear his name, it no longer burns the way it once did. But I don't feel indifference either. What I feel is complicated, a mixture of sadness for the friend I thought I had, anger at the cheat he revealed himself to be, and acceptance of the lesson he forced me to learn. He destroyed my friendship forever, yes, but he also changed me. He turned me into someone who no longer hands out trust like free coins, someone who listens more carefully, who watches more closely. I am harder now, sharper, but also wiser. In a twisted way, his betrayal gave me armor I never knew I needed. And yet, if I'm being honest, a part of me still aches. Because buried beneath all the anger, beneath the scar tissue of betrayal, lies a simple truth. I miss the person I thought he was. I miss the friend I believed in, the one who never really existed. That is the cruelest trick of all, that the classic cheat not only stole my trust, but also left me mourning a ghost.